we've been collecting all this data to create a program to serve elementary programs or elementary schools as a whole. And one thing that we've noticed on repeat is almost like an ignoring of the early stages of conflict or of dysregulation. And then it gets to a kid's behavior's gotten big and we're like throwing a chair or they're yelling or they're pushing somebody else or they're swearing or they're slamming something on the desk. And what we've observed a lot is that there's a lot of precursors to that. There's the like, oh, this kid comes in and their face is scrunched and they're like, oh, and they're kind of huffing and puffing. And there's an opportunity to say, oh man, hey bud, I noticed your face is all scrunched and you're huffing and puffing over here. So curious what's going on. You look really mad. Here to help you, right? Like there's opportunity there. And then the kid will do something else. Like they'll hit their thing on their desk. So I'll be like, huh, and like sit in there and kind of like slam it together. Or they'll say something to the kid next to them, or they'll kind of like lean their body into the kid next to them. And still nothing is said, nothing is said. And it's these opportunities over and over where the kid's saying, I need help. I'm having a hard time. And when we ignore those hard times over and over and over, then we see an escalated behavior. And it's something we've noticed on repeat. And I have so much compassion for teachers because there's so much going on. There's so many kids in the class. Thin. Yes. And we know the humans in our class who are going to need the most attention from us. And what can often come up here is like fairness, equality. And we look at this from an equity lens of if I give this kid what they need to thrive, the rest of the classroom actually gets to thrive too.
Absolutely.
And that maybe this kid has different needs than the kid next to them in the same way that Sage will have different needs and have more specific needs than Mila will in a classroom. I didn't need specific accommodations in school because of how my nervous system works and what my home life was. And I started off on, say, second base, right? Where like I'm a neutral sensory seeker and I got two married parents without a lot of trauma at home. And there are kids who are starting off in the dugout, right?
Totally.
Like we're just trying to get on the team. And I think that when we're looking at this from an equity lens and saying, okay, who needs what from me? And we can notice those earlier signs, we can actually at that point, before their brain is fully offline and before they're, quote, in trouble because they've done something really big, we can connect with them in a way that's so powerful for regulation and communication.
Yeah, that front loading. And I think too, it can be an opportunity. I think about in our family, it's an opportunity often to help the other child notice what's going on earlier. Like when Nora and Abel are, let's say they're wrestling and Abel will be laughing, but he's actually not having fun. And she's like, but he's laughing. I'm like, he's laughing because he feels out of control, not because this feels good to him. And then like now in future interactions, he'll be laughing and I'll be like, Nora, because he'll be saying stop, but also laughing.
Yes.
I'm like, you need to listen to the stop, even though he's laughing. He's not laughing because he's having fun. He wants you to stop. And she's starting to like notice that and observe it. And not always that she can control herself and stop. I still sometimes have to step in. But I think too, like, it can be good for kids to watch a grown up noticing a nervous system signal and like naming it. So that then they can be aware, not that they're responsible for another person's feelings, but so that they can notice what's happening.
Yeah, and respond with intention and engage with intention. 100%. It's somebody from the outside saying, this is what's going on. And even adult to adult, I got a text from Kylie yesterday that was like a video of the kids playing. And she was like, thank you so much for everything I've learned at Seed, because now I watch this interaction. I'm like, oh, she's doing this because she's trying to get this type of input. And she's doing this because she's overstimulated. And how do I then step in and help meet their needs and help build these skill sets for them? rather than like, oh my gosh, stop driving your sister crazy, leave your
Mm,
sister alone, and being able to really see like, why is this happening and why are they doing it, so that I can help build awareness and meet those needs in other ways.
totally. And for the kid who's doing the driving crazy, like here are some ways to get that connection need met. Here are some
Correct.
options for you instead of doing something to your sibling that they're not enjoying.
Mhm, mhm. 100%, and we do it in classrooms too, and it's really cool. We had this kindergarten class and we've done a lot of work with, and there's a kiddo who is a high connection seeker, high sensory seeking. He has low proprioceptive awareness, and so he doesn't really know where his body ends and something else begins. He'll go to sit next to somebody and he sits too close.
Hmm.
He will hug really tight or he'll push somebody to the point of hurting them because he doesn't can't gauge the right amount of force. And he's connection seeking. So he just really wants to be around these humans and connect with them. And we taught the class as a whole about how all of our bodies work differently. And that for some of us, when our body feels overwhelmed, here's how it shows up. For some of us, when our body wants to connect with somebody or if it feels left out, here's what we might do. And all these different ways that our bodies work. And then we said, who here likes to hold somebody's hand when they're sitting over on the rug? And a couple people raised their hand and we said, okay, let's try it. During the rest of this circle time, you can find a buddy to hold hands with if your hand is raised in the air. So they found a buddy and they held hands. Of course, he's like, yes. And then at one point, he got frustrated. This is probably about 2 weeks later. He had gotten frustrated, and we said, "Oh, man, you know what? I think his body really needs a hug. He's feeling left out, and something that helps him feel included is if he has a hug or holds somebody's hand."
Hmm.
And so we told the kids that. And then fast forward, this little girl who was having a hard time, like storms out of the classroom. And one of the kids turned to the aide in the classroom and said, maybe she just needs to hold somebody's hand.
Hmm.
We're like, yes. And these are kindergartners,
I
and we're
love
just
it.
building it into their day, right? So that they're seeing each other not as a threat, not as this kid is doing something bad or they're a bad kid, but instead as, oh, what do they need? What does their body need?
Yeah, and like we're on the same team, we're in community.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much.
It's so cool to see how much can happen when we just talk to kids about how their bodies work and when we as the adults can start to understand how their bodies work. It's why we created the regulation
Hmm.
questionnaire, right? Is to give the adults and then the kids insight into how does your body work. So if the questionnaire is new to folks, you can go to seedquiz.com and for any age, adult down to infant, you can take this questionnaire and understand how does that child or your unique nervous system work. What might you be sensitive to, like what drains you? What might you be seeking that calms you? And what might be helpful for you throughout the day versus then in the moment? It's totally free. There's a paid version if you want like videos and a whole bunch of resources and tools and guides for different ways this can show up. The free version is super comprehensive. So head to seedquiz.com to dive into that bad boy.
Yeah.
Right.
Just one more thing about the quiz. It's been so interesting to me how many adults are using it for themselves, which I love.
I love
Me
that.
too. Because before I worked for Seed and understood the nervous system, I always thought that I was an extrovert because I can be outgoing in certain situations. And now, like, I know about myself, I'm sensory sensitive. I'm definitely more introverted. I get overwhelmed with input pretty easily. And having that insight for parenthood, I'm able to give myself more compassion when because sometimes I'm like, ugh, I shouldn't be getting overwhelmed over like the kids arguing. Like, come on, they're kids, they're going to argue. And then I'm like, no, this is just my nervous system struggling with the noise and the chaos. And it's okay for me to feel this way. And I know how to like get through it so that I can respond the way that I want to. But having that insight into your own reactions has been so key for me to even have the capacity to be like, okay, now what's going on for you?
Or when you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Nora's basketball game and I know I have to support myself beforehand and that afterward, I'm going to have a lower bandwidth.
Yeah, I'm not going to be wanting to chat in the car on the ride
Right.
home.
Exactly.
Yeah.